Hey, what's up guys? My name is Josh, and Gustard is the latest and greatest brand to really impress me, and they've impressed me with this H16 amplifier. I actually looked at one of their higher end options in a audiophile build series I did that cost quite a bit more than this, but I actually think I like this unit more than the more expensive version. Now this unit is $400 and it does more compete with some of the SMSLs at this price, the toppings, the THX amps. It's more in that classification, but this does offer some unique features in this price tag, and above all, it sounds really good. Quick disclosure here, Oppos, the audio store, did send this out for me to review. You can find links to them down below, but Gustard did not have any involvement in this review. And of course, like always, all thoughts and opinions here are my own. The build here is actually really nice. This thing is very dense. Part of that is because the transformer is actually inbuilt into this. Instead of having a power brick, you just use a standard power cable for this thing. And overall, the ideology of the design is pretty good, and the use of materials on this is actually excellent. There are a couple notable things on the design here. The feet on the bottom are really grippy, and I actually really like these type of feet. They're actually excellent. They have large surface areas, so they have a lot of contact with the surface, so they don't slide around very easily. This does come with a myriad of inputs, which we'll talk about in a second. A OLED screen, even though I don't really think this screen needs to be here, but you know, it's fine. It works as intended. And then it has this kind of recessed volume dial and selection button. This is about the only thing I don't like. And the only thing I don't like about it is that it's easy to press the middle button, which switches your inputs. So you can go from an XLR input to an RCA input by just accidentally bumping the button. This has happened to me multiple times where I go to adjust the volume and the music shuts off. And then it takes me a second to realize, oh, I bumped the button, and I gotta switch it back. Now, one other benefit of this thing is that it does come with remote support, which does also work with their DAC and their streamer all in one remote. That's gonna be a big plus for this thing and a big selling point, I think. So the inputs and the outputs is actually kind of a point of interest for me here because they chose a very unique selection of outputs. Your inputs are pretty standard. You have XLR and RCA inputs. You also have RCA and XLR pre-outs, which at the price is pretty good and on par with the competition here. Now on the front, you have this array of 4 outputs, and these outputs are very strange. They actually have a ton of balance options here. So from left to right, they have a 1/4-inch single-ended output. That's your only single-ended output here. Then they have a 4.4, a 3.5 millimeter Pro, which is a balanced 3.5 millimeter, and then an XLR. And then of course your volume dial to the right of that. This is one of the only amplifiers of this classification that I think has that 3.5 millimeter Pro. I don't know if this is a huge selling point for 99% of us out there, but it does have a lot of good options. And for the right headphones, this might actually save you a few $100. For example, the HT800S comes with a single-ended cable and a 4.4 millimeter cable, but it doesn't come with an XLR balance cable. So if you were to go and purchase that, I think Sennheiser is selling the XLR cable for like close to $300 or $400. Which is just crazy for that. Now the specs on this device, like basically every competitive amp at this price range, they're incredible, right? You're dealing with like fractions of percentages for total harmonic distortion. I think it's like 0.00004%. It's got like 120 dB signal to noise ratio. Now the power output is a little bit strange. So for example, this at 32 ohms only puts out 3.7 watts only, right? But when you look at something like a 789, that's putting out about 6 watts into 32 ohms. Now the THX does make higher output for lower impedance, but as you get higher impedance, this actually makes a little bit higher output. The Gustard being about 560 milliwatts at about 600 ohms versus the 400 milliwatts of the 789. So it really depends on which headphones you're powering with this. Main point is you can power just about everything with this. I use Susvaras with these. I use Dianas with these. In fact, all the testing for this review was done on the Diana Phi. And main point, you're gonna be fine with this. Okay, so I wanna talk about the sound signature here because I do think it actually stands out a little bit. And to do that, I do wanna draw some quick comparisons to some other amps around about the same price. Let's go ahead and start with the 789 here. The 789 is a very clinical amplifier. When you hear it, it's really sterile. It sounds very precise. This, to me, and this is totally in the realm of placebo and maybe just how it's playing with specific headphones, but this seems a little bit warmer and a little bit smoother than an amplifier, and it doesn't quite have the overly clinical nature, even though it still sounds very correct when you listen to it. And I'm not sure exactly what property this is that allows us to do it. And I actually think that this complements specific headphones. For example, to bring up that HT800S again, That headphone I think sounds better on the Gustard H16 than it does the 789. But personally, I think the differences in sound quality here are incredibly small and definitely within that realm of potential placebo. Now that being said, I do think there are some legitimate benefits to getting this for $400 over the $300 for the 789, and that really comes down to the feature set that is on this and some potential future plans that you might have. So you've got remote control support for one. I think for the right person, that's a huge benefit. Two, you have XLR pre-outs at the back, which is something that the 789 does not have. And if you plan on upgrading things in the future, Gustard does have a stack option with a DAC and actually a couple of DACs that fit this build, and a streamer that you can actually stack up all in one. So you can have a nice, concise stack that look all the same. Whereas something like the 789, they don't really have a dedicated DAC for that thing or a streamer to make a nice, concise stack. So that might be a benefit to the right person. So that's $100 under. What if we go $100 over to what is my favorite amplifier, the Topping A90? So the Topping A90 is a very, very neutral sounding amplifier. It's neutral without being boring. It's not boring at all. It just sounds incredibly correct. It definitely beats this thing in specs in almost every category. I think it also puts out just a hair more power, though not substantially more. But like the 789, the Gustard actually does have some creature comforts that do make it a little bit better for the right user, which is going to be remote support, though they do both have a DAC option for a stack, and they both have the XLR pre-outs at the back. And last notable thing, it's not really a big deal, but the A90 is a hair smaller. It's a little bit thinner in the profile, and I think it's even a little bit shorter than the Gustard is. Okay, conclusions. They're fantastic amplifiers. I think right now you can pretty much confidently make a decision on any amplifier just based off of what you need it to do. So if you need XLR pre-outs to go to a pair of powered monitors and you need it to be volume controlled like it is on the Gustard or the Topping A90, these are going to be fantastic selections that something like the 789 is not really going to offer for the cost. But the 789 does also have a very good value proposition if all you're looking for is similar sound quality to this for $100 cheaper. That might be the amp to go for. So like I said, right now, I would just look at what you need the amplifier for, and you can pretty much confidently make a purchasing decision on any of these top playing amplifiers today, which is a great place to be. I don't think there's any massively clear winners. It's just a matter of who needs it and what they need it for. All right, guys, I think that's going to be it. Thanks, Appos, for sending this out again. Thank you very much for watching. And until the next video, my name's Josh, signing off. Peace.